That's why they call it the CR85 Expert model. Holy shit. He's like 250 pounds and his wheelies just... Imagine if you were a 100-pound beginner.
What's happening, fellas? Feast your eyes on this kick-ass two-stroke beauty. This is a world-class Honda CR85 with a really cool story behind it. Kind of a bittersweet story, but local guy, friend of ours, Dave, bought this bike from his neighbor right before he passed away and completely restored it, did a frame-up restoration as a tribute to him. So come on inside, it's a little cold out. This thing is brand new, absolutely pristine and perfect. Put that in your 4-stroke pipe and smoke it.
He says, get the rag. I don't want to scratch the frame rails.
What's happening, fellas? What self-respecting two-stroke lover wouldn't just die to have this under the Christmas tree this year? What a kick-ass piece. And guys, I'm 220 pounds without clothes on, and this thing absolutely hauls ass up the highway. I have not ridden an 85 that pulled like this thing does. It's basically a full works motor. I'll go over that in a second. But let me tell you the story about this bike. Dave watched his neighbor take his son out. He bought this for his son when he was 12 or 13 years old, and they'd ride this bike across the street, and his neighbor's son got involved in some stuff. He asked me not to mention exactly what it is, but let's just say he went down the wrong path, and his dad actually passed away. And before he passed away, he sold this bike to Dave. Dave was really good friends with him. Dave is also, if you buy this bike, I'll give you Dave's phone number. You can call him and discuss everything that's been done on the bike yourself with him. Dave and his friend, his neighbor who passed away, were really good friends, and he restored this bike as a tribute to his friend. And I got to show you something here. I have never seen anybody invest this much money into an 85 ever in the history of me doing this. And we've had we're known as the custom two-stroke experts. There's a ridiculous, this is the original draft. We called him up and got the rest of the facts on all the parts and components and the cost. The total cost on now here's the manufacturer certificate of origin, the manual. There's 78 pages of receipts and documentation for the build. This is the total cost just for the parts, $11,370. 78 pages of receipts. I'll go over everything that's been done on this bike with you in a minute here, but I think the easiest thing for me to do, because I'm not going to be able to remember all of it, is just tell you what is original on this bike and has not been replaced. The engine cases left and right. Now, did I mention Dave is a jet engine mechanic and he has a jet engine repair business? The guy's a millionaire. He obviously gets paid quite well doing what he's doing, so cost was not an issue. This was a labor of love and a tribute to a friend of his, and the bike's been done for a couple years. Dave decided to let it go. He didn't want to see the bike sitting. In fact, the kid who originally owned this bike tried to buy it back from Dave, and Dave wouldn't sell it to him. That's a whole other part of the story, but not because of the money, but the path that he went down. So in any event, this thing, the engine cases are original, and the transmission gears are original. The swing arm is original. Other than that, every single component on this bike has been replaced with either NOS brand new or a high performance upgrade. I like to start at the front of the bike and work my way back. There is full documentation, 78 pages of receipts and invoice on this bike. The other thing I want to add about this bike is the total ride time. Dave did 3 heat cycles on it and rode it up and down his street a couple times in front of his house. You can see the tires have absolutely no wear. And then I rode it up and down the driveway here. It's basically just broken in and ready to go. The Wizard took it downstairs, gave it a once over, nut and bolt check on it, and put some fresh VP in it. It's ready to go. We did not detail the bike. We haven't had to wash it or anything. It's never been ridden in the dirt since it was built. So we'll start with the frame. The frame is take a look at the bottom of the frame rails. I got it on. I got a blue rag there. It's freshly powder coated white. He did replace the frame because the original frame, he thought the original frame had a bend in it, but it was actually it was a little dent in the bottom of the rim of the frame. Replace the frame because I always say to check the frame rails, right? So he wanted a pristine frame, so he bought a replacement frame. And as you can see, it's absolutely pristine, and he sent it out and had it professionally powder coated. So both sides of the frame are absolutely perfect. There's no dings, no dents, nothing. The one that was on here, like most, was dinged up. So he replaced the frame. Back to the front of the bike. Take a look at these rims here. These are Talon hubs. These are the most expensive hubs you can possibly buy, with brand new stainless steel spokes with red nipples. And these are Takasago XL rims with a brand new set of Maxxis tires. Tube rim strip has the red rim lock and the red valve stem cover. All the bearings, of course, are new, and it has a brand new disc rotor in the front. The caliper was replaced with a OEM Honda caliper that he purchased online. New brake pads, new brake fluid. He put braided stainless brake hose on the front here. As you can see, the red all the way up to the top there. And the forks, he replaced the forks. You can see the forks are take a close look at the forks. You see they're in pristine condition, no dings or dents or anything like that. The original forks that were on here had some road rash on them from, not road rash, but rock dings from him riding with his friends. So replaced the forks. The forks have been rebuilt, new fork seals. And he also put the BBR heavy-duty fork springs in here. You can take a look. He put a set of these Scar red anodized aluminum triple clamps. Now, the bike has a lowering link on the back, a deval lowering link. So the forks have been raised up, which lowers it 1/2 inch. The front forks are pulled up in the tubes 1/2 inch to keep the geometry the same. So this thing will handle like a dream. Ricky Carmichael used to do that with his bikes. He'd lower them down so they cornered better. But you still have the same amount of travel. This is an NOS, brand new Honda front fender, brand new Honda front plastics. All the plastics is brand new NOS Honda. The side covers, the front fender, no Chinese aftermarket stuff. This is Japanese Honda side cover, rear fender. Also, brand new NOS Honda seat. NOS Honda seat, brand new NOS Honda gas tank. That gas tank, the receipt on the gas tank was $240. Also has a Honda Racing billet, anodized red gas cap and breather tube. The handlebars are brand new. The ASV levers for the clutch and the brake lever are brand new. The master cylinder was replaced. It's got a brand new throttle assembly, throttle cable. Every nut and bolt and every piece of this entire front end here is brand new. The frame is brand new. Everything here is brand new. The swing arm is the original, but the rear wheel is a brand new W Talon. Check it out, Talon Pro Billet. That's the top of the line, most expensive set of wheels you can get. It's a $1,500 set of wheels and tires on this bike. Includes, he also put new axles in there too. He's got receipts of new axles. All the hardware is new. The axle adjusters is new. He replaced the rear caliper with a new takeoff, not brand new, but off of another CR85 that was in better condition than the ones. Now, he was an airplane mechanic, so he didn't cut any corners. Any components on here that any wear at all were replaced. The shock guard is brand new. The shock, you got to zoom in on the shock closely and take a look at it. This is a top of the line shock here. You can see it's a DLC coated Fox Podium RC2 shock. This is about a $1,000 shock with the BBR shock spring, which matches the BBR fork spring. So the BBR springs on the Fox Podium shocks with the SCAR triple clamps, the complete suspension setup. This thing's ready to take to Loretta's and race it. The rear brake system is completely rebuilt with the braided stainless brake line on the back to match the front, new brake pads. It also is a brand new rotor. So the chain and sprockets are brand new. The rear brake pedal is brand new. The pegs are, check these out, these are the stainless steel Moose pegs, oversized foot pegs, has a Z anodized red brake pivot. This is actually the original rear brake master cylinder, so that's one of the other components on the bike that's original. The airbox, he replaced the airbox with a takeoff airbox that was in better condition than the airbox was on there. So I think that pretty much covers everything on this side. Coming around this side here, you can see this has the red anodized Turner sprocket with the gold chain. It has a new Honda OEM chain guide, chain rollers, chain sliders, all of the hoses on the bike, the radiator hoses, the carb hoses, those are all red. It has a Moose Racing anodized shifter, of course the matching foot peg on this side here. Looking closely, you can see every single nut and bolt, and I have a receipt for every single nut and bolt on here is OEM Honda brand new. Now let's get into the engine, because that's the real magic on this thing. It's a two-stroke, it's an 85. Starting with the cooling package, it's got a 20% oversized. The size of these, I've seen smaller radiators on 250s. This thing runs super cool. Massive oversized radiators, new radiator protectors, new radiator hoses. The engine is brand new. The engine cases were split, every seal, every gasket, every O-ring, everything on this motor is new except for the engine cases. The engine cases were bead blasted, cleaned, and inspected before the engine was reassembled. The gear, the transmission gear gears were taken apart, inspected, and reassembled in the cases with a new crank, new OEM Honda crank, new crank bearings, new crank seals. This is a brand new NOS Honda cylinder, brand new NOS Honda piston, rings, wrist pin, top end bearing, new head gasket, and this is a new gold fat head. This head cost $250. New spark plug, new radiator hoses. The fuel petcock is brand new, as is the fuel lines. And if you come around, you'll see this is the attention to detail that a jet engine mechanic is going to have. No Mickey Mouse attachments here. It's the original OEM Honda hose clamps. The carburetor is a new key-in carburetor that's been jetted for this setup. New air filter. It has a new set of V-Force reed valves on here. The exhaust system, I'll talk about that in a second when we get to the other side, but the ignition cover on this side, as you can see, is brand new, not a single scratch on it, Honda, and it has the built-in countershaft sprocket cover and a brand new Moose Racing shifter. Everything on this motor, all the hardware is new, all the nuts and bolts are new, everything, the exhaust springs new, everything in the motor is new, and this thing absolutely hauls ass. I can't imagine how much fun this would be for maybe a more appropriate sized adult, like a 150-pound adult, instead of a 220-pound, 6'2" guy like me. I'm a little more suited for the CR500, but this is still a kick-ass bike for someone my size to ride. They're a lot of fun. As I was riding this, I was thinking, how cool would it be to put some supermoto tires on this thing and go ripping around the city or on a racetrack? This thing would be an absolute hoot. Check out, zoom in on this right here, please, Kenny. This is look at this, the attention to detail with the anodized bolt holding on the triple clamp. Everything is brand new, just absolutely fantastic. It's got the red and white Scott grips, ASV rotating lever mounts, brand new kill switch. Coming to this side of the motor here, you can see it's a brand new top of the line Pro Circuit. You can see it's got the serial number on there, PRC, or the part number. I can't actually read that, but Pro Circuit pipe, black factory finish. This is a brand new clutch cover. If you look closely, this is not a repainted or a refinished clutch cover. This is an NOS brand new Honda clutch cover. The water pump is the original water pump. It was in perfect condition, so he just put new gaskets and seals on that and reassembled the water pump. So the water pump's original too. The clutch basket is a Hinson clutch basket with brand new Honda CR85 clutch plates and springs. So the entire clutch is new. The cover, the basket, the springs, everything. The Kickstarter is brand new. The brake lever is brand new. The hardware for the pipe is brand new. The cover for the master cylinder is new. I mean, like I said, it was easier to say what is not new on this bike, and that's the engine cases, the swing arm. Billy, am I leaving another note? The engine cases, the swing arm, the water pump are original. Are there any other items that on this bike that?
There's nothing on this bike. It's not new old stock or replacement top-notch aftermarket.
I don't think they can hear you because it's so noisy in here with the fan, so I'll hand the mic to you. But before I do, the Honda crossbar pad, everywhere you look, I probably left some things out, but this thing's bristling with trickery. It's as good as it's gonna get. This is a bike that you could take to the nationals, to the Loretta Lynn's amateur nationals, and if you don't win, look in the mirror. It's you. It's not the bike. Billy spent over 3.5 hours. He's up to about 4 hours.
Yeah, 3.5 to 4 hours, and just going through the receipts and trying to sort it out, trying to figure out what was left of the stock bike, and it's really only the engine cases, the transmission, even the main shaft or the counter shaft in the transmission was changed to a new old stock, and the swing arm.
We were going over this, staring at the bike, going over the receipts, and I hadn't talked to Dave about it, so I said, let's just call him up and ask him the simple question: what didn't you replace on this bike, Dave? And he explained the whole situation, how it was a labor of love for his friend who had passed away. It was a tribute to him, and he wanted to see this bike, somebody enjoy riding the bike now that he'd completed it. And Billy spent 4 hours going through 78 pages of invoices. Billy, grab the mic. Tell us your thoughts.
This is a no-holds-barred build from ground up. I've never seen one like this at all. This is fantastic. And to start with the CR85, big wheel, that's, a really high bar, but this bike is as good as it can get. All the top components everywhere from stem to stern. Right from the spoke nipples and the valve caps, all the way to the foot pegs and the NOS seat. I mean, it's just, it's like Ken said, it's bristling with all the best components. What wasn't new old stock was a top-notch replacement, like the V-Force reed cages, and the sprockets and chain. Everything is top of the line. No expenses spared on this, and I think that our friend Dave is a little bit maybe disappointed when we told him what the receipts added up to. I don't think he really was paying attention to that. I think most importantly, he wanted this bike to be correct, to memorialize his friend and to bring that bike back to life. And he did exactly that. And if you saw Ken ripping around on this bike, you know that it can haul ass, and it does.
So we added up the labor at $90 an hour. We asked Dave, how many hours did you have labor? And he goes, I worked on it for 1.5 years. Every nut, bolt, component. Now imagine how long it would take to online or at the dealer just to gather the parts, to buy every single component of a CR85 individually. Well, how much time it would take to do it. So he goes, I don't know, let's say 125 hours labor, because that's what most shops would normally charge for a bike like that. So we took that. Now it took him 1.5 years to do this, right? So, but conservatively speaking, 125 hours labor at $90 an hour, which is, now, picture yourself going to your local Honda shop and asking them, or a local pro circuit or anybody, and saying, I want you to replace every component on this motorcycle except for the engine cases. Oh, and by the way, bead blast the engine cases, polish them inside and out, make them perfect, including the swing arm. The 3 components that are original, I want you to modify those before you put it back together and make it perfect and tune it perfectly. Well, if you can find a shop that will do it, even at $90 an hour, that's $11,250 in labor plus $11,371 in parts. That comes out to $22,621, which is pretty much what a factory race bike. It's like a works race bike. This is as close to a works factory bike as you're going to find. Honda doesn't make the 2-strokes anymore. It's the end of an era. It's one of the best 2-stroke 85s I've ever ridden, and I've ridden some nice ones. It's just a world-class piece. Labor of love, $11,371 in parts, 125 hours of labor conservatively over 1.5 years. Tribute to his friend. So if you're looking for the best CR85 for sale in the world today, buy this bike. It's if you're looking for the ultimate two-stroke present to put under the tree, where you're never going to wish, geez, I wish I bought a nicer one, because they don't exist. There is nothing better than this for sale in the world today. Certainly not on eBay, anywhere, or Cycle Trader or anywhere. There's one guy over in the UK, James Payne, who has a bike that might be this nice, that he spent years building for his son, that has a custom aluminum gas tank, Olin suspension, and factory HRC components on it, that is not for sale. But that's the only 85 I've ever seen that rivals this. Hats off to you, James. Those who are in the know who James is. His kids' 85s are just off the hook, and it's the same generation 05 Honda. When Kenny's little sister Jordan was still racing, and she was gonna make a comeback when she was 14 in Loretta's, we built her this same bike, a CR85 big wheel, that had some similar componentry on it. That was quite a few years ago, but that's what I put my daughter on. If you're looking for a kick-ass bike for your son or your daughter, or if you're an adult, or for your wife, or if you're an adult, if you're a male, 150 pounds or under, hey, I'm 220 and I enjoyed the hell out of riding it, and I'm 6'2", so I think that the ideal rider would probably be, what, 5'6"-ish, 150 pounds, although a smaller rider could ride it. You have some adjustability here. The forks can be slidden down in the clamps or slid up in the clamps another 1/4 inch. You could lower it a little bit by lowering the shock spring and bringing the forks up, or raise it by tightening the shock spring and dropping the forks, but some flexibility there. One thing I can tell you is you ain't going to need any more motor than this. That's for damn sure. You're not going to need any more motor. It's it's freaking fast, and I can't wait to watch the video, because it was just hauling ass up the hill. If you have any questions about this world class, and I think world class is a good way to describe this CR85, because there is nothing finer that I've seen or that's available. It's a well thought out labor of love from a guy where spared no expense. So thanks for watching. Keep the two-stroke dream alive, and God bless America.